Well, I'm gonna discuss a little situation that maybe is on a lot of people's minds right now, and that is finding their soulmate. Tonight I'm also going to post a song by George Strait called Blue Clear Sky. I'm going to put that on a separate video, but it kind of goes with this chat that I'm doing right here. And I just kind of felt the desire to reach out to some people out there who are nice ladies and gentlemen who still haven't found their soulmate yet. And I feel your pain, or I felt your pain up until about 6 years ago when I finally met my soulmate, and I was getting kind of up in age when that happened. And the reason I was so old when it finally happened was because up until then I had been going about my romantic life the typical way that most people do in our culture. And that method, um, as we know with the 50% divorce rate, is kind of hit and miss. Um, and oftentimes people will meet someone that way or those with any of those methods, but sometimes you get it to a point in your life or your romantic life where you are tired of meeting people and you just want to meet the one. You want the one soulmate that's meant for you by God. And I really believe that God does have just one person picked out for us, but we may or may not meet that person. It would depend on whether or not we had surrendered that particular issue in our life consciously over to God, and left it there, um, and enough time for Him to do something with that. Um, and I think we compartmentalize our lives. There's a lot of, really spiritual people out there that, are very advanced spiritually with maybe the majority of their life, but maybe they have like this one area where they won't let God handle that. Like, I've got that under control. I'll take care of that. And as long as we keep God out of a certain area of our lives, or we think we've got it covered, um, God cannot intervene, and He will not go against His own previous decision to give us free will, and so He will not overstep our free will, even if it means our own sadness or our own emptiness or our own destruction. I mean, He just won't. He'll let us destroy ourselves if that's what we want to do. And so we have to consciously submit it over to God, and this is what worked for me. And I had reached a point where I was willing finally to do that. I think a lot of people never reach that point, or they don't know that much about spirituality or about God, and so they don't understand that God actually has someone picked out for them, that He would like to bring them together. But God does know you. He knows your soulmate very well, and He knows, which two people would be perfect together. And so, He's watching your soulmate right now. He's grieving for him that he hasn't found you yet, or he's grieving for her that she hasn't found you yet. If you know you're a guy out there in the audience, he actually wants us to find our soulmate more than we want to find our soulmate. And it just grieves Him that we, bump around, uh, you know, with these detours and everything, and waste our lives and our limited time on the earth, and um, doing things our way. And of course, all the ladies' magazines and the media and everything tells us, the way to meet people, and those ways might cause you to meet someone, but after you get to be a certain level of maturity, I guess, romantically, you don't want to just meet someone. You can do that. You want to meet the one. You don't want to waste any more time with, Mr. Okay. You want to be with the right person that God intended for you to be with. And when you are with the person that is your soulmate that God intended you to be with, you don't have to worry about infidelity or divorce, because it's a settled thing, and it was settled by an entity that's bigger than both of you. So it doesn't make it hard work you know. And when you've met your soulmate, your eyes don't wander because you know that you gave it over to God and that God miraculously brought you this person. And so there isn't anybody better for you on the planet, and you know it, so why look? So it's very freeing. And of course, that's why people want to meet their soulmate. And but anyway, God will not intervene. You know, we have different compartments in our life and pockets where we will let Him act, and other pockets where we won't. You know, and so that's why sometimes areas of our lives can be not so productive, and other areas can be sailing great. So, you know, we can look like a walking contradiction, but it's because of the various areas. And it can be based on, you know, the way we were raised, or, you know, things that we learned along the way that cause us to allow God in certain areas and not in other areas. But in any event, if there is an area of romance that you haven't let God in, I would say the solution to finding your soulmate is so simple. Basically, give up doing it yourself. Don't take any steps or anything that in our culture that normally people would take to try to meet someone. Totally put it in God's hands. The one thing that you can do, if, you know, a lot of people always want to do something, you know, and the one thing that we must do, actually, if we want God to act in that area of our lives, is to be completely celibate and chaste and obedient. And that obedience is sort of our cross. That's like our weight to bear. It's very small and minor compared to what God's going to do. But it demonstrates to Him that we're serious. It frees Him to work in that situation. And it shows that we are not trying to do it ourselves. We're proving to God that we have left it up to Him by being obedient. And so those are the points that really brought me my soulmate, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So put it in God's hands and be obedient. That's what I'll say.